Hello and welcome, Lynx here, and we continue with ebi-hime's little game that I have run into on itch.io, of course. Your glass heart in my hands. Of course, the game link in the description. Did I mention it's free? It's free. Yeah. One route. Can you call it a route? Maybe. I guess one story. I guess let's say one story. One story completed. On the left side is the missing piece right now. We have two more pieces to go, and we are going to go with the right one, because this girl will be the last story. As well, at least from that little fragment that we see, she was kind of my favorite character, from the looks of it. I might have done a mistake with the second favorite looking character, but that's fine. Alright, let's begin. Glasses girl, let's see what you're hiding. You continue to drift in the darkness. It submerges you like tar, like oil. There's something oddly reassuring about the darkness, something soothing. But you know you cannot drift forever. There is work which needs to be done. Is to dot and T's to cross. There is a mountain of paperwork awaiting you, and all sorts of charts which need collating. All sorts of reports which need to be written. Damn. This work will not sort itself out, and you know full well, even as you drift, that she's not going to do it herself. She has always been so slipshod and slovenly, so incredibly careless. She does not call out to you, there is nobody to call out to you, but you are still able to force yourself awake. You've woken yourself for the last 2 years, and you are certain you will continue to do so, no matter what curious avenues your life might take you to. You no longer have any mates to rouse you. Oh, you only have her, and the thought of her waking up before you is farcical. Huh? She has never once woken you, save for by accident, when she has stayed awake long in the early hours of the morning to study. When she has tripped over a pile of books and the resultant crash has stared you from your slumber. There is no crash this morning, however. No resultant whimpers of pain. There is only the sound of the chirping birds outdoors and an uncomfortable creak in your neck. Ah! Did I get exactly that right now? You bet. Did you fall asleep at your desk again? No. I think it never happened to me. No, never mind. Never mind. I did fall asleep. It was at one of my works. They're like, alright, we are in the office. Therefore, we'll have the training time. Because, well, that's when I started there. And what the training will look like? Teams! Because we are in the office. Fucking hell. And I fell asleep. Because it was so boring. Like literally. Obviously I would have the camera off, and I would sit in a way that no one would notice. Anyway, it wouldn't be the first time. They also lied about what I was supposed to do, so I didn't care anymore. Like from the get-go. You wince. An unpleasant, sour taste fills your mouth. When was the last time you brushed your teeth? Literally 3 hours ago. And your brow furrows. For you know your responsibilities well, you still feel wary. Part of you, rather a small part, mind, but is still there, would like to sleep just a little longer. Oh, that's me every morning. Shoring up your strength before she sends you out on any further fetch quests. But you cannot drift forever. She's waiting for you, and she relies on you. Who are we talking about? She might be a genius, but she's completely hopeless when it comes to everyday affairs. Interesting. I mean, in a way, makes sense. Isn't that a case, sort of, for some of the geniuses at least? Like, they are absolutely amazing in some field, but like, luck in every other field, sort of thing. She can cultivate life inside a petri dish, but she does not even know how to dress herself. What? She'll wither away without you, like a rose in the winter. She'll suffer and sicken with nobody to brush her hair, to prepare her food, to make her bed, to ensure that she lives. There's a... you know what? There is an interesting theme over here. That basically it feels like every character thinks that there is a person out there that would not be able to continue living without their presence. And I think that was also the case for the first story, to be honest. It does feel like that. She cannot do anything on her own. This seventh sister of yours. Oh! This rare and unusual idiot who cannot even scramble an egg without starting a fire. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people maybe not start a fire, but can't even do something like scrambled eggs. And so you force yourself to wake up. Damn, girl, you need to clean this place up. What a mess. You blink, and when you do, you wince. It is as you thought. You did fall asleep on your desk. This is... Amid several scattered documents, charts and graphs and all manner of miscellanea you can't even begin to name right now, there is an uncomfortable creak in your neck, again, and in your back. Oof, and the sour taste persists in your mouth. Huh. The taste is unpleasant, almost acrid, and you wince. Ugh. You can't quite place it, not for a few moments. But a glance to your right, at the cacophony of cups placed amidst the sea of documents, soon clears that up. You were drinking coffee last night. Oof. In an attempt to keep your eyes open, endless cups of it. Well, that explains the mystery. It is little wonder that inside of your mouth tastes like a charnel house, or that your head hurts so much. You ought to have expected it. You sit up at your desk, wincing, and gingerly you press a hand to your neck. You probe your muscles, which felt taut and hard beneath your skin, all knotted. Your fingers sink into your neck, procuring from you a sharp hiss like a boiled kettle. Then you turn. She's there. Because of course she is. She never leaves this room of hers. Will pore over her studies at her desk for hours on end. I mean, aside from the mess on the ground, I think this room would be quite cozy. It sort of feels like maybe your own inside library? She isn't doing any pouring right now, however. Fatigue must have caught up her, at long last, and now she lies slumped, her cheek resting against her own desk, her eyelids closed. Her hair sticks up from her scalp at all the angles, and her skin looks very pale. Oh, she is pale. Almost sallow in contrast. She snuffles a little as she sleeps, her chest rising and falling. Her fingers are curled up on the desktop, as small and delicate as a young girl's. Everything about her is small and delicate. A diminutive figure, her clothes always seem too big and boggy for her. Do they? I mean, I wouldn't say so. As a result, she looks almost half-formed, swarmed by her own skirts. She looks like a child playing pretend, a young girl who has rifled through her mother's wardrobe, pulling on the clothes within at random. But her mother died many years ago, as did her father. That is why she was sent to live with you, in your decently sized abode, when you were both young girls, only 10 years old apiece. She's your companion from childhood, but she's also, by the same token, so much more than that. Your father was acquainted with her father. They went to university together. I literally am not in contact with anyone from university, so wow. And once were business partners, though they lost contact over the years. There you go! In most other stories, that would be the end of matters. But your father somehow heard that his former friend's wife had succumbed to an illness, his friend to the grief which ensued. In the wake of those unfortunate deaths... Oh, I think I see what the father did. There was nobody to look after the young daughter which was left behind, until the father, always a bleeding heart, resolved to take her in. Fair enough. He welcomed this strange, pale-faced, bookish girl into your home, and your life changed for good. But in a good way or in a bad way, right? Before she appeared, your days were horribly dull and drab. Okay, so it seems like for the good. You stayed indoors like a good little girl, for that was what your mother wanted. She was something of a hypochondriac, and you played with your dolls. You attended... I think it's true, especially for, like, Western Europe right now. I think, like, this way of acting will be absolutely normal from now on, given what is being allowed into those countries. Man, I wish Poland will not become like that. You attended your lessons and you read only the books which were considered appropriate for a young girl, and you always took care to mind your manners. You were well-bred, well-brought up, well-behaved, and were horribly, achingly, indescribably bored. You railed against your lot in life, but only ever internally. As a young lady, you knew better than to say what you really thought, to try and make a scene. You did everything that was asked of you without complaint, while inside you screamed and raged and gnashed your teeth at the stupid, officious, pompous banality of it all, until she arrived on your doorstep. You had never met her before, and you took against her at once, especially when your father asked, in the hopeful way of his, you to treat her like a sister. I feel like that's asking a lot. I mean, you can off the bat say, oh, this will be your sister. I mean, maybe you can, but... you know, but saying, treat her like a sister and so on. She's not for, right? You should have tried saying something like... try to treat her like a new friend. Something like that. Anyway. A sister, you have never heard of anything so preposterous. She was a stranger. There you go. How could she be your sister when you were nothing alike? I mean, you don't need to be the same to be actually related as well. She looked foolish in your hand-me-downs with her... There is nothing bad about hand-me-downs, by the way. With her fair hair tied back futilely, for it never lay flat, with your ribbons, so much so you laughed at her. It being you thought of it as an amusing distraction, something to take out your petty childhood rages on. You would kick her covertly at the dinner table, and you would pinch her as you passed in the hallway, and you never did let her play with your dolls. Huh. That sucks. You scorned her, and you sneered at her. Until that fateful day, when poor Safi suffered in a full mishap. Oh no, the creepy doll in our screen. Oh no. You were skipping along in the garden, Safi in tow, imagining that you were a grown lady, that she was your small daughter, when you stumbled. Then you fell! You collapsed to the ground, Safi tumbling from your arms. You sustained only a few shallow injuries yourself, a skinned knee, a bruise on your ankle, but Safi was far less fortunate. And then she will have her vengeance. As a delicate doll, she was made of far more fragile stuff than a 10-year-old girl. She happened to follow Cordy, and to your horror, her beautiful head hit a rock jutting out of the grass. The rock did not shatter her porcelain face, but Safi did undergo a rather gruesome transformation as a result. Okay, both of Safi's lovely eyes were knocked loose from the force of her fall. Thanks for reminding me of the, well, sort of nightmare I had. Yeah, my nightmare had to do something with eyes. The little smack of personal against Roxanne bow. Okay. You scrambled to your feet after you fell, then grabbed hold of your poor doll. You stared at her, shaking. And then, upon seeing her empty sockets, you began to scream. You began to scream. Yeah? You screamed and you screamed and you screamed until your throat threatened to tear. Tears began to pat in your eyes, hot, wet tears, like condensation on the side of a teacup, and your nose started to run with snot. Safi's new, eyeless visage was so horrifying. Yeah, that for a few minutes you forgot all sense of decorum, all sense of poise and grace. You forgot that you were supposed to be a lady. You cried, not as daughter of a baronet, but like any gutter snipe would upon being caught out filching a loaf of bread. You cried so loudly and so very excessively that your plaintive wailing could be heard across the garden. A nearby gardener started while pruning the topiary hedges, and he dropped his shears, almost slicing off a few of his tools in the process. Oh! Dude, you are lucky that it didn't fall a few centimeters closer. The gardener was unharmed, fortunately. Yes, not that much cared in the throes of Yuri Mare's grief, but the same could not be said for your poor Safi. She looked so frightful, with those empty staring sockets where once her eyes had been. You could not look at her. I'm surprised you can look at her even with those, to be honest. Creepy as heck. She started to scare you. Your beautiful doll, whom you had loved as dearly as if she were an extension of you. You began to fear that your connection with Safi had been irreparably severed. That you would never be able to love something so malformed, no matter how hard you tried. But Safi's fate was not set in stone. Your sister soon heard of what had occurred, and she asked to see Safi later that night. Huh? Then, in a muted voice, she told you that she might be able to help. Okay. She sounded sincere enough, but you did not immediately trust her. In fact, in the beginning, you did not trust her at all. You have never been kind to her. After all, you had seen her as an usurper in your household, a competitor for your parents' affection, and you worried she might use this as a chance to retaliate. You wondered initially if she meant to do Safi further harm, if she should smash her porcelain head to pieces, like sand on the beach. But your sister sounded sincere enough, and she looked the part with those white and innocent eyes of hers. She seemed genuinely concerned for Safi's plight, and what did it matter, you told yourself, if she did harm Safi further? Your poor beloved doll's eyes had already fallen inside her head. I mean, outside of her head. Whatever. Let your sister fiddle around with her. She could hardly hurt Safi more than she had been hurt already. I mean, considering also how creepy those dolls are. They are basically hurt from the very beginning, aren't they? You shrugged carelessly, as if Safi's plight did not matter to you, and casually gave your sister permission to probe her. She could take a look at Safi if she wished, for you doubted anything would come of it. It seemed unlikely she would be able to fix her. That is what you thought, at least. But then a miracle occurred. Your sister had Safi for only a brief while. 15 minutes, if that. During this small window of time, however, she was somehow able to fish Safi's clanking eyes out her cranium. She set the eyes back into place, her slangy fingers quick and nimble, and handled her back to you without any flourishes, with only a quiet monosyllabic "Here!" Still creepy. Initially you found yourself incapable of believing it. You marveled at how your sister had managed to repair Safi, leaving behind no trace of her interference. Wait a second. Was it just only a question of putting the eyes back? Ah. Why, Safi looked as good as new. I would argue with good, but... What black magic had your sister used to heal her? Your sister looked at you flatly and said there was no magic. She hadn't done anything special. I just put her eyes back into place. I had to sew open her skull first to fish them out, but I... Oh, they literally sunk deeper. Oh. But I put her back together again. Her hair covers it, so you can't even see the seam. It wasn't that difficult. It sounded difficult to you, despite your sister's explanation. Oh, you are saying sister now. Difficult and incredibly technical alongside it. But you were so relieved to see that Safi was alright you didn't bother to press the issue. Instead you smiled, your faith in the strange girl swelling within you. You had never much cared for the pale, pinched girl who had come to stay with you, but this single interaction converted you. Heh. Your new sister had saved Safi, for she had been under no obligation to. You had always been perfectly horrible to her, yet she still came to your aid, without asking anything in return. You should apologize to her for everything, to be honest. After that, your opinion of your sister altered. You began to see her, not as a parasite, but as a true member of your family. Why would you see someone like that as a parasite? Ever since that day, you endeavored to make her feel welcome, and in so doing apologize for how cruel you had once treated her. Nice! You stopped trying to trip her in the hallways, and you stopped playing mean-spirited jokes on her. You began to spend time with her instead, inviting her to take part in your imaginary tea parties, and perusing her favorite books by her side. You listened to your sister talk, faltering at first, of her parents and how they had died. You held your sister during the first and last time she sobbed for her deceased mother, and you ran your fingers through her hair. You told her, your voice as soft and soothing as your own nursemaid's, that it would be alright, she didn't need to cry. You were there for her. You promised your sister that you would pledge yourself to her, and that is exactly what you did. Okay. Now, more than a decade later, you and your sister have remained inseparable. Not twins in the biological sense, but the spiritual. Your sister once told you that she dreamt of becoming a doctor, or, no, a scientist. It was her dream to revive the dead. Say what? Do what? Did she say scientist? Are you sure? Not like a necromancer? So that she might be able to see her mother once more. A dream she has pursued doggedly, no matter how impossible it might seem. Your sister studied hard, so much your parents realized it would be a waste to let her languish in the family estate. She was sent to boarding school at the age of 12. Wow. And later she was even able to secure a scholarship to a well-renowned university. Naturally you followed your sister, first to school, then to university, where you received no scholarship yourself. You are no scholar yourself. Your examination results have always been decidedly mediocre, but you are determined to do all you can to aid your sister in her studies. Aren't you giving up, perhaps, on your own dreams because of that fall? You traveled all the way to the capital to aid your sister in all of her trivial day-to-day affairs. I wonder which capital. For genius though she may be, she has always been hopeless at looking after herself. You and your sister rented rooms. A rundown atelier which one belonged to, or so you heard, to a painter of some renown, and you helped her move in. What kind of painter? Do we know him? Her? For the last 2 years, you kept your living space neat and tidy. Okay. Or as neat and tidy as you can keep it. When your sister leaves so many books about and the air smells faintly of turpentine. You prepare your sister's meals, and you pick up your sister's scattered belongings, and you generally ensure that she's taking proper care of herself. That is your lot in life. A mate of sorts to your sister, for you do not mind this. You think it is what your sister deserves. She's a genius after all, the genius who stayed savvy and who might one day save humanity. Humanity is beyond saving at this point. I mean, I guess depends what is on your mind exactly by saying save humanity, but we are not great beings. Others at the university might scoff and sneer at her. Your sister is one of the 5 female students, but oh yeah, okay, makes sense. I mean, ebi-hime and the games being set a bit in the past too. But you will always support her in her endeavors. You have no choice but to support her. You do love her after all. Oh. Your love for her is intense and driving, just like flames, which threaten to consume all else. But for all of your love, you have found yourself woefully incapable of convincing your sister to actually attend her classes. She has become more and more ensconced in her research these last 6 months, ever since she stumbled upon the findings of one Dr. Godwin. What again mentioned? Okay. I have a feeling this last character might be Dr. Godwin. Which would say maybe I chose the stories correctly when it comes to order. Would be funny if I did. Oh no, not the freaking blinking angel. No, why are you showing me this? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? First the freaking creepy dolls, now the blinking angels, weeping angels. 2 things I really dislike. Upon discovering this enigmatic doctor's thesis on life after death, your sister has redoubled her efforts to eradicate all illness, all disease, the very concept of death itself. Right. I mean, good luck with that. So enamored has she been, she has stopped attending classes. She has stopped going outside. She has become a complete recluse, and, were it not for you, you fear she might have wasted away already in the prolonged pursuit of knowledge. Naturally, you try to dissuade your sister from focusing too intensely on Dr. Godwin's thesis. You try to impress upon your sister the importance of her studies, and how wonderful an opportunity it is that she was accepted into the university at all. You know, you told her, in a fit of passion, women aren't allowed admittance into universities. These are places for men, where they learn how to dissect bodies, how to take people apart, how to hold life itself in the palms of their hands. That she was accepted is a miracle in and of itself. Could she not make the most of this opportunity which she has yearned for so ardently? Why does she not content herself with studying medicine, so that she might help more people, just as she helped Safi? Does she not remember how happy she made you when she cured your poor, beloved doll of her awful ailment? Just think of how many more people she could make happy if only she was willing to work for it. Okay, how many people actually going into working in medicine think I'm doing this to make people happy? Because I have my doubts, there are a lot. You said all of this and more to your sister, hoping it might sway her, but your words were ineffectual. They rolled off her, like water drumming against the canopy of an umbrella. I know, your sister replied, in that slow and sleepy voice of hers. That I'm lucky being allowed to study here. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, which is why I can't throw it away. If I don't indulge in my studies now, Caro, I'll never get a chance. I won't have access to all of those books or all of the equipment I've been loaning from the biology department. I'm not throwing this opportunity away. It's the opposite. I'm making use of the only opportunity I might have the only way I know how. Which makes sense. Your sister stood firm against your dissent, for of course she did. She always has been so determined, despite being so diminutive, so dogged in her perusal of her ultimate truth. You knew that she would never listen, that she's far too stubborn. I mean... Can't she in a way both do the same if she's so amazing? I think she would still manage. I mean, dude, I used... okay, no is maybe a strong word. Because we are never like on a friendly terms or anything like that. But I knew, or more like I was in the same year in middle school, right? With the person that apparently later on at university decided I will study in 2 fields at the same time. At 2 different universities, so... And honestly, I'm 100% sure that person was able to pull that off. Yeah. So studying over here, one thing, and... you know, doing your research, I think you could do that. Anyway. Sometimes you wish we had been harsher with her. Yeah, but on the other hand, it's her life. So she should be deciding, right? But you fear if you had spoken to her too sharply, she would have turned away from you altogether. Then you would no longer have a sister. There would be a hole in your heart where once your love for her lay, and you would have been broken. Your sister is your sun, who illuminates your dreary days. It is she who gives you a purpose, and it is about her you revolve. Without her you would not know what to do with yourself. You need her, and you cannot deny the shiver of delight you feel when she calls you by your childhood nickname. Which is... Caro. My Caro. Is your name Caroline? Yes. Thanks for the immediate answer. To all the others, you are Caroline, a posh, proper name, but not to her. Is it a popular name abroad? To your sister, you have always been Cara. You knew the moment she addressed you thus, that any argument you might have thought to make would be summarily defunct. Interesting. I haven't noticed that before, but it seems like... there is a little bit of shadow underneath her eyes. She must not be getting enough sleep. Your sister might be small, but you have never been able to stand up to her. She holds all of the cards, and perhaps she knows this. She's a scientist, after all. You know what's funny? I think also... like, she might be considered a proper one because she's not throwing that title around. Yeah. She likes to take things apart to see what makes them tick. She always has done ever since she was a small child. In her youth, she would take snuff boxes apart at their hinges and pry open the cases of carriage clocks solely to see how they fit together. In the beginning, she was not always able to put these delicate, fiddly, finicky antiques back together, but she soon learned. Now only master horologists can best her when it comes to understanding the shape and form of any kind of clock, from a large grandfather clock to the smallest of pocket watches. Her thirst for knowledge is unquenchable. If she can take apart a grandfather clock, then you are certain she can take you apart too, breaking you down to your core components. She knows what comprises you, and she knows only too well what strings to pull to bend you to her will. You have no will of your own, not where she's concerned. You've always been incapable of saying no to her. That's problematic. That's very problematic also, side note, if your parents are like... if you are as a parent are like that. You have to be able to say no. That's right. I told you, a person that doesn't have children. You prepare her food and you clean her clothes. And you also, during days like this, wake her from her slumber, so she might face the day anew. You observe her for a few moments, marveling at how unguarded she looks when asleep, how small and finely formed her features. Her nose is snub, her lips pursed like an angel's, and her eyelashes are very long. Her dainty fingers look like a doll's, the nails surprisingly neat despite the messy nature of her experiments. Her nails are pale pink at the tips, a soft rose color, which look almost as though they've been painted, glossed and buffed to perfection. You think her perfectly adorable, even if she has begun to drool in her sleep. Despite that, you cannot help but love her. All of that because she repaired your doll? Huh. You love her as you have never loved anything, or indeed anyone else. On the other hand, you know what? You did mention that basically you were kept only in the house, so... you get someone who you interact for the first time, sort of. Maybe it really went to that far spectrum. And you are sure that will never change. The thing is, it might drift to the other spectrum if something happens. From one very strong feeling to another. I feel like that statement you are sure is kinda dangerous. You continue to observe her, content to bask in her soft sleeping form, before with smile, you lean in. What? Gently wipe away the string of drool stuck to her chin. When your voice light, you tell her to wake up. She has fallen asleep on her desk again, and she has been scattered her important documents everywhere, for they cannot be all that important, you add, with a teasing smile. If they were, surely you wouldn't have drooled on them. What? This, at least, is enough to make your sister stir. Yellow eyes, okay. She has the kind of eyes that, feels like they are piercing through your soul. Or maybe it's just the stare she gives, basically. She blinks and says, I wasn't, was I? Oh yes, you rejoin with the enthusiasm of a pantomime villain. You were. No, your sister says, for she sounds less certain this time. I wasn't. Really? You rejoin, while raising an eyebrow. Do you want to bet on that? What are we betting? You ponder for a moment, one hand resting against your chin. Then in a flash of inspiration you say, maybe a slice of apple pie. What? Are you baking a pie? Not right now, you tell your sister, but you might. Not so long as she's willing to admit she really does drool in her sleep. Like any other mortal. What do you mean? I don't drool in my sleep myself. And there is nobody who can prove otherwise. Not something to be proud about, huh, Lynx? You're literally kicking yourself in the ass. Anyway, why did I say this in the... like I'm talking to someone else? Anyway, and if I don't admit to it? Well, that's too bad, but there'll be no apple pie for her. No pie? Slowly your sister sits, scratching out the creaking arms and neck like a cat. Then pouting, she says,
That's not fair. You're playing dirty.
I know, you rejoin, but I have to when I'm with you. You don't leave me with much of a choice when you're so stubborn. Now, are you prepared to admit that you do in fact droll? There is a pause. Your sister looks up at you sullenly, then says,
Maybe sometimes.
You grin. The battle won, for now, at least, and rest a hand upon her head. Roughly you pat her. Your sister pouts. Then tells her you'll make a start on the pie later. First, however, you need to make her presentable. Her hair is an awful mess. Why? It looks like just like a bird's nest.
I think.
Your sister rejoins as you retrieve a brush from the table.
But you're exaggerating. There are no twigs or sticks in my hair.
Yet. Well, that should go without saying. She never goes outside. So when would the opportunity arise? Now address your sister. Hold still. You introduce the brush to her fair tresses, which are so messy they threaten to devour the brush hole. Then you start to comb. You comb your sister's hair slowly while she squirms like a grumpy cat. She has never enjoyed these little grooming routines. You know she cannot see the point, not when she spends so much time indoors, but you like tending to her. It makes you feel as though you have a purpose, a raison d'etre. As the French might say. I bet that was perfect French. Not like I care if it was. She gives you a reason to exist, a reason to simply be. Without your sister, you are not sure what you would be, who you would be. And if there is something at all alarming about that thought, you choose not to dwell on it. You push your concerns into your subconscious, where they need never bother you. Then your voice chirpy, you ask your sister if she has any plans for the day.
Marigolds.
Huh? You beg her pardon? You incline your head, still holding the brush, and blink. This is another of one of your sister's idiosyncrasies. You'll ask her a question and she will reply with a single word, as if this constitutes a robust and well-formed answer. I mean, sometimes you don't need more than one word, so... You've spent enough time with your sister that often. You can tease the deeper meaning behind her lack of communication. At other times, however, you find yourself quite in the dark. What do you ask her, does she mean? What about marigolds? Your sister sighs, her small shoulders slump, as if it ought to be obvious. Then her voice quiet, she says,
I need to pick some marigolds for a tonic.
A tonic?
Yes, a tonic. I want to conduct an experiment to see what effect marigolds have on a person's pain receptors. Naturally, I'll test it myself. It won't be toxic.
Right. You're not wholly convinced about that. Your sister's definition of the toxic seems to differ from that of ordinary people, but you try not to be too perturbed. Marigolds are not a rare and exotic ingredient. They can be purchased rather cheaply in bouquet at the florist, and you know there are a lot of them by the riverbank, which means free. In fact, you find yourself hitting upon an idea. You tell your sister that if she needs to gather marigolds, you might as well go together. You know a place where they bloom in abundance if she wishes to come with you.
What?
Your sister looks at you flatly, her eyes narrowed, lips pressed together in flat, featureless line.
Why do I want to do that?
Well, why not? Was she hoping you'd watch fetch the marigolds for her ill-gotten experiment for her?
That's exactly what I was hoping.
Your sister says.
And my experiment isn't ill-gotten. There's nothing suspicious about it.
There is a lot. It sounds like she's protesting too much.
No, there really isn't. It will be perfectly safe.
You hope so. Else you won't be able to enjoy your apple pie later.
I'll enjoy it. It will be delicious.
Lightly you laugh. Your little sister has so much faith in your baking at least, but you feel there is one thing she ought to know.
What?
Food always tastes better, you say lightly, when enjoyed after one has done some physical exercise. Is she sure she doesn't wish to come and pick the marigolds with you?
Yes.
Your sister replies flatly.
I'm sure.
But doesn't it seem like a waste? It's such a lovely day. You insist. The birds are singing and the sun is shining and...
Time waits for no man. I have work that needs to be done.
And yet you rejoin. She does not mind putting her work aside for a few minutes to enjoy a slice of your freshly baked apple pie.
That is different.
In what regard?
I like your apple pie, but I don't like going outside. It's horrible.
Well, now, that is a shame. You don't think the outside is so bad, really?
I know you don't. That's why I want you to go for me.
And isn't Elsat a genius of her carvel, consigning herself indoors all the time?
Others said I was a genius. That's the title you've given me. I didn't ask for it.
Nice. Nice. No, you suppose she didn't. She hardly ever asks for anything. Often she's so encompassed in her research that she doesn't ask you. Or anybody else for that matter, for anything. Nice. Your sister isn't especially demanding, not most of the time at least. But still, you feel compelled to impress upon her genius. She might not think of herself as such, but you do. You think she's wonderful when it comes to biology and chemistry and how bodies fit together. She's less so when it comes to the rest of the world. There are curious gaps in her knowledge, for when your sister doesn't care about something, she does not try to understand it. I mean, makes sense. If she's not interested, why would she pursue that? Yeah. She's content to be wholly ignorant in some affairs. Cooking, cleaning, and sometimes, though you hesitate to admit this, other people's feelings. Okay. Cooking and cleaning is something you should know for. Come on. The basics, at least. Come on. Other people's feelings. Would be nice. But your love for her is stronger than her apathy and you are determined to win her over. Good luck with that. You tell your sister that she must go outside every once in a while, even if she doesn't want to. It will do her some good, being able to stretch, to walk, to feel the sunlight on her face. I mean, you need that sun vitamin. I doubt it.
I doubt it.
Your sister says mistrustfully as you continue to run the brush through her hair.
Too much exposure to sunlight can damage your skin.
That is true, reply, but truly she's in no immediate danger of that. She goes outside so rarely you fail to see how it could harm her every once in a while. Actually, because she's not going outside, wouldn't that be possible for her to?
One can never be too careful. I don't want to take any chances.
You understand, but you worry she will sicken all the same, sunlight or no, if she gets no exercise whatsoever. Is it not important to get her heart pumping?
I would rather not. I can't stand sweating.
Your sister replies, her brow furrowed, but then she catches your eyes and she sighs.
Well, alright then.
She eventually capitulates, as she often tends to when you really press her.
If you insist, I suppose I can go on a little walk.
Or, you know what, if she complains about walking when the sun is out, take her on a walk in the evening. There is no sun. You resist the urge to punch your fist in the air in victory. You do not want to seem to smirk, and instead smile. That's 1 point to you and none to your sister. You finish brushing your sister's hair, then compel her to stand. Something which takes more effort than one might imagine given she's so slight. Then you continue to tend her hair, tucking her blouse and straightening her skirt. Eventually you are assured she's presentable and you offer her the crook of your arm. Well, you tell her, your voice sunny, shall we go? Your sister looks at you questioningly, a furrowing foaming in her brow. There is a small pause and then...
If I must...
Your sister twines her arm through yours. You have to suppress the resultant rush of euphoria. Then leans against you. The word euphoria, is it a broken word for any others out over here? I bet if you feel like this word is broken, I think like you also might have that feeling because of what caused me to feel like that. Wide-eyed, she blinks up at you as she says,
Is this alright?
Why, of course it is. There is stuff you want more than to wander outdoors with your sister arm in arm. You can wish for no greater privilege in the world.
I think you're exaggerating.
Your sister says, with a small rare smile.
My company isn't all that riveting, really.
Ha, for Jeans it would seem there is a lot she's still ignorant of.
But I'm glad you think so. Would you mind leading the way?
It would be your pleasure. You depart, letting the door to your rooms full shut behind you. It is a pleasant day, like you had hoped, and the sky overhead is very blue, broken only by a few clouds. You think it's pleasant, at least, for your sister seems not to agree. She cringes away from the sunlight like a vampire, for vampires of course do not exist. They are not very scientific. Hissing like a cat. I wouldn't be so sure. You look to her askance. Is it too bright for her? And she blinks rapidly in response. Her arm tightens about your own, just like a lost little child. Is she, for all of her intellect, afraid of venturing outdoors? And she says,
I'll be fine. It will just take me a while to adjust.
You suppose you can understand that. She doesn't go outside very often. You're a reclusive genius of a little sister. When was the last time she went outdoors? Your sister's brow furrows in thought. She blinks, then says,
Now that you mention it, I don't remember. It must be in maybe 2 months ago. Months!
It is even worse than you feared. You thought it had been weeks at the very least. I mean, technically, months is weeks. And what, she said 2, right? That's like 8 weeks, basically. But you and your sister have both been busy. Time flies, or so they say. It does, sadly, when you have been having fun. It flies even if you don't have fun. And you always have fun when you are with your sister. You cannot help but enjoy how much she needs you. It is one of the few things in life which makes you feel powerful. You let your sister cling to you as you walk along the riverbank, leading the way along the verdant, gently sloping banks which look like something out of a fairy tale. The soles of your shoes crunch against the grass, and as you walk, you cannot stop yourself from smiling. Your sister might be a genius, but she cannot conduct her experiments on her own. You are irreplaceable. That's a very dangerous thing to think. And this thought is enough to put a spring in your step during your wanderings. You are able to find the flowers your sister needs by the riverbank swiftly enough, but you have no desire to end your excursion there. It has been 2 months since your sister last exited the atelier, and it would seem a shame to return as soon. So soon. Since you were able to persuade her to step outdoors, you might as well enjoy the moment a little longer. You glance at your sister, a small smile playing about your lips, and you ask her what she would like to do now. Does she have any plans?
Plans?
Your sister blinks and says,
I always have plans. Now we have the marigolds, I want to brew this tonic. Time is
of the essence. Yeah, she has said that once already. But why is she always in such a hurry? Your sister has always been devoted to her peculiar experiments, ever since she was a young girl. But you get the distinct feeling she has been pushing herself even harder than usual. Is there any particular reason?
Oh, you know me.
Your sister replies, glancing away from you as she speaks.
They say that the devil makes work for idle hands, and you will have a limited time on this earth. I don't want to waste it.
Right. You can see the logic behind that, certainly. But you are concerned that if your sister spends too much of her limited time indoors, she'll forget what makes life worth living in the first place.
You are worried about me then?
Well, of course. How could you not be worried about her? She's your beloved sister. There is nobody in this world you love more than her. Did she say that? Your sister laughs lightly at this, and to your surprise she sits down. Her skirt pulls about her, just like the unfurling petals of a flower, as she says,
That is rather funny.
You take a seat beside your sister on the riverbank, then look at her askance. What is funny?
That you love me so much. You didn't care for me when I first moved in with you, not in the slightest. In fact, I think you rather hated me.
Well, she isn't wrong there. But that was a long time ago. You were just a child then. And anyway, you have loved her for far longer than you have hated her.
I suppose,
your sister says, fishing among the grassy bank for a flower. She plucks it and toys with, pulling off the velveteen petals one by one. A small smile plays about her lips, her eyes soft behind the lenses of her glasses, and she says,
Now this reminds me of something.
Of what?
Of that game we used to play as children, the one with the flowers. If you peel off the petals, you can determine whether somebody loves you. Or so people say.
Yeah, it says so people say.
It's all superstition, naturally.
Correct.
These stars can know more about my love life than the
I think you don't have a love life, girl. Come on. Come on!
About my love life than the stars in the sky, but I suppose it is rather romantic.
You're surprised your sister remembers these childish games of yours, conducted in the gardens. Is she not too grown up for them?
I ought to be, I suppose. I'm an adult now.
Right.
But I was happy then, with you. I might have played these funny games with you, but it was only ever your love that I wanted.
And she still has it. You treasure her. You've never once stopped loving her, not since she saved Safi.
Yeah, I know. You have been very good to me, but I fear I haven't always been good to you in return.
Your sister hangs her head, her brow furrowed. She plucks another flower from the grass, yanking it by its stem, and another and another. There is a moment of silence, and then...
Karu.
Yes, what is it?
You're right when you say I've been overworking myself. I'm aware my conduct has been less than ideal, and it is certainly less than sincerely. I fear I've been neglecting you both, you and myself. But I need to focus, otherwise I'm afraid I'll fall behind. That all of my hard work will be for naught.
Pretty sure that's not the case. If anything, if you say something like that, that means you need a break.
I have to make something of myself. I thought when my mother died, I would dedicate myself to being a scientist who would surmount life difference between life and death, one who would ensure nobody need to cry like I did. I just don't want anybody to suffer.
Yes, you did think it was something like that. Is that why she's been working so hard?
That, and I feel I need to prove myself. You know, when I stopped attending my lectures, I told you it was because the professors had nothing they could teach me.
Doubt. On the other hand, it depends. Do they teach in a way that makes you want to listen to them? Then they have something to teach you. Because that means they also have passion for this stuff. Otherwise, I would say no. That she's right, basically, with that. Anyway, you can recall that, well, you thought it was a shockingly arrogant remark coming from your sister, who has always been so humble despite her razor-sharp intellect. You did wonder whether something had happened, but you did not want to pry.
Yeah, I know. You knew that something had happened. I could tell. You aren't my precious sister for nothing. You know so much about me. I wonder why I bothered to keep it from you. Perhaps it was my pride, getting in the way as per usual. For somebody so small, I have an abundance of it.
It's really like a small girl. Like, she doesn't look like she has the build of a small person. This does not bode well. You frown, then ask your sister what she means. Did somebody at the university insult her?
It might be quicker to list the people in that hateful institution who did not insult me.
Right. I mean, again, I bet it's because the woman at this time of history that we are in. I actually don't know exactly when in history this takes place, but well, we know that not many women were allowed into university, so I bet a lot of insults are about that. And your sister says sombrely, still picking flowers. She now has quite a collection of them.
My fellow students often look down on me for being a woman.
I knew it!
But my professors were even worse.
Yeah, because they are from even older generation.
Some of them were not too bad. I was rather fond of old Armand. But the others clearly thought it was beneath them to teach a mere woman. They looked down their noses at me, and they made no attempts to hide it.
That's pathetic.
It was all so very exhausting.
You digest your sister's words in silence, your head hanging. You're somewhat surprised to hear her say this, but you are not surprised that this happened. You've never been to university yourself, but you have heard that universities are haunts of men, and prideful, pompous men and dead. Makes me think that this might be Britain, to be honest, but don't know what time. While more women are attending university now, your sister is still something of a trailblazer. She's spearheading a new wave of female scholars, and while you are proud of her, you did imagine she would struggle to fit in. You were concerned for your sister when first moved here, but you tried not to show it. You did not want your sister to think you were fusing. You tried to remain optimistic, yet you cannot forget the haunted look on your sister's face when she returned home from her first day on the campus. She looked dead in the eyes as you have never before seen her, utterly defeated. She wandered through the atelier slowly, like a clockwork toy which had run down, and she did not sit at her desk to review her notes. Instead, she collapsed on her bed in your shared room, and there she lay on her throne for hours. You had never seen your sister, your fierce, determined sister, look so defeated. That she was able to pull herself up and continue attending her classes after that was something of a miracle. But it seems that, in the end, she was not able to keep at it. She was worn down too much.
I'm sure I could have learned many interesting things.
Your sister says, her voice bitter.
Were I given the opportunity. But it's hard to pay attention when it is apparent your mere existence is a cause for offense. The atmosphere was so horribly oppressive, it was hard to pay attention. It does not help that my fellow classmates scorned me. Most of them were cruel and callous, and those who weren't seemed a touch too interested in me.
Oh.
I could never let my guard down, not for a second. They claimed to be learned men, but many of them were far from it. They were remarkably childish.
Not surprised.
I could not bear to keep attending, only to be mocked for my efforts. I thought it best to retire to my atelier, to carry out my own experiments unimpeded. But it is important, you understand.
I mean, you still need to graduate for, right? Otherwise, even if you try to like, more like, even if your experiments would work out, right? I feel like you still need like a document that you are a doctor or whatever to like be able to publish your experiments and so on, right? I might be incorrect about that, but I think I'm at least like maybe slightly correct. A little bit. Anyway,
I want to make a great discovery quickly, so that I may wrap my success in the face of my professors and my peers, those who were short-sighted enough to scorn me.
Nice.
And to prove to them that I deserve to earn my scholarship, that I deserve to call myself a scientist.
Wait, can you call yourself a scientist if you are still a student as well?
I wish to make a great breakthrough that will make them gnash their teeth together in envy, that will make them feel as small and as pathetic as they have made me feel. I want to show them that they are truly stupid ones. I need to pass them at their own game, Caro, and I'm sure Dr. Godwin's thesis will help me. I'm so close to hitting up on something big. I'm sure of it. I just need to work a little harder. My goal will soon be in my sight. But until I have accomplished that, I cannot give up. I have to keep working. It is the only way I can prove to myself that my existence has worth, that it was not some mistake my mother died instead of me.
Wait, what does that mean? What does that mean, instead of you? Oi.
I have to do this. Until I succeed in my research, I'm nothing. I have nothing.
It feels like her approach is quite unhealthy. You listen to your sister's impassioned speech quietly, as you often do whenever she begins to soliloquize. There we go. Your sister is not a talkative person in general. She tends to keep herself to communicate in monosyllables. She only speaks like this when she's truly excited about something, or else truly upset. You fear that her research into the nebulous land of the dead is a fool's errand, yet you want to reassure her regardless. Your sister is a genius. After all, she can do no wrong. For she's mistaken on one point.
Oh.
Your sister blinks. She inclines her head and says,
What is that?
She does not have nothing. You are here for her, after all, and you have not left. Come what may, you will always be by her side. Your sister inhales. She blinks, then says,
Always.
Yes, you urge her. Always.
Oh, Caro. Sometimes I think you are the only person who understands me. You're the only person I can rely on, the only person I can turn to.
I don't know about the understanding part, but the other stuff, probably true.
I just hope that you don't hate me for what I might become.
Hate her. You frown, then ask her why she would say that. You could never hate her.
Do you mean that? Really and truly?
Yes, you reassure her without a moment's pause. You mean every last word. You'll never turn against her, and that is a promise. Oof. That's bold. How could you when you love her so much?
Oh, Caro.
Your sister's expression softens, like sunlight spilling through the gaps in the grey and gauzy clouds. She leans in, her face a little flushed, and for one mad moment you think that she might kiss you. You're half expecting it. Actually, your eyelids are beginning to fall shut when...
I always knew I could trust you. You might not be related to me by blood, yet you will always be a sister. To me.
Your sister reaches out. You see her holding something, a circle made of delicate orange marigolds picked from the tall grass which sways along the riverbank. Your sister's hands are nimble and quick, and for she's trained with a scalpel, she cut open several cadavers before she stopped attending her classes. Destruction is not the only language she is well versed in. She's also gifted in the art of creation. I wish I was gifted in that art of content creation. I'm not for. And the crown she has fashioned for you, out of these lovely golden orange marigolds, is so beautiful you could weep. If only you could preserve it in formalin, the crown, this rare afternoon, spent together by the riverbank. Then you think you could face any hardship without flinching. Your memory of your sister and of this precious moment would remain in your heart forevermore. And you would never have to feel sad or unwanted or uncertain again. Huh. You return to the atelier soon enough, after this little talk with your sister's marigolds in hand. You were not gone very long after all, only an hour or so, if that, but the brief time spent outdoors has cleared some of the cobwebs from your head. Your mind feels clear, and your body has been imbued with brand new strength. You're ready to face anything now that you know how much your sister needs you. The memory of her body pressed against yours burns you just like a brand, and you sigh from it. You have often worried from the day you realized how much you loved her that she might leave you. But your excursion has wiped all such doubts from your mind. You feel reborn, revitalized, even as your sister says,
Now that we have the flowers, will you prepare them for me?
Like I said.
Like I said, this tonic won't be poisonous. I don't mean to mix anything suspect into it.
You wish you could take her sister's assurances at face value, but part of you wonders, this would not be the first time she lied to you. Most of your sister's lies are of the wide variety. Or should I say variety. Uttered to put you at ease, but it is a trick she has resorted to one too many times. Are you sure, you ask her, hands on your hips, that tincture will not be poisonous? Are you really truly sure?
Yes,
Your sister replies, her composure unwavering.
I'm sure. The worst it can do to me is give me an upset stomach.
All the same, you would rather not risk it, especially when you promised to bake her an apple pie earlier. Is there any way to record the results of this curious tonic?
Not initially. We would need to give it some time. I still want to try for.
Well, of course she does. Your sister is adventurous and she's willing to try almost anything. Even the most poisonous parts of a pufferfish at least once. I would not want a pufferfish in general just because it has that. If not for you and your presence, she would have killed herself at least a dozen times over from her curiosity. Oh boy. But you are there for her. On the other hand, makes you glad that she's testing that on herself and not on other people. Huge respect. But you are there for her and you can dissuade her against her more problematic impulses. You know when your sister is lying too, and you think, for you do not know, she's probably telling the truth about these herbs. They're probably safe. You don't want to risk incurring her disappointment in any case. If you were to throw them away, and doing so would void the value of your walk along the riverbank. You do not want to let her down, so after I pose you a quiz, you will brew this tonic for her. If that is what she really wants, her wish is your command.
Thank you.
Your sister says, with a brief nod of her head.
It is appreciated. While you do that, I will return to Spartacus. There are a few more experiments I wish to run on him.
A what? Poor Spartacus. What's that? You smile wryly. Then tell your sister you feel rather bad for him. You poor, ill-used tortoise who has lived. Surprisingly enough for all of your sister's experiments, almost 70 years. Wait, what? What? Spartacus is hand-me-down. Okay, that makes sense then. A wise, wrinkled creature which once belonged to your grandmother. Your grandmother cherished Spartacus when she was a young girl, younger than you are now, and she later bequeathed Spartacus to her daughter, your mother. Your mother in turn gave Spartacus to you and your sister, who has never been able to live well enough alone, wound up co-opting him. Your sister began her peculiar experiments on Spartacus in earnest shortly after she repaired poor Safi's sightless eyes. With your permission, she would time him to see how quickly he could walk down the length of the hallway. The answer to that was not very. How many lettuce leaves he could eat in an hour. She timed how long he slept, his reactions to both hot and cold, and she recorded his stool. Okay. Your sister's experiments became more intrusive as days passed, and now she often has Spartacus hooked up to various cathodes and diodes. Not that Spartacus seems much to mind.
Is that thing still alive?
He endures his suffering in a serene, graceful manner, like an old man who knows his time will soon come to a close. Poor little thing. You not always like the things your sister does to Spartacus, but you think, or like to think, that your sister loves him really. She has yet to kill him, at least, which seems like something of a miracle. Those guys can live for a very long time, right? Maybe there is some secret to them. You're somewhat hesitant to let your sister toy with your poor tortoise even more. But you know, if you said anything, she would frown and say she's not toying with him. Let's see. I need to check now. Both turtles and tortoises are some of the longest living species that can be kept as a pet. Okay, aquatic turtles, 20-30 years as pets. But I want tortoises, yeah. Tortoises are more well known for their longevity, with some estimate to live 100 to 150 years. As a human living 150, that sounds kinda like a nightmare, to be honest. Your sister takes all lives very seriously, even the life of a tortoise.
I do not play.
Your sister always says, her voice cool.
This is all for the greater good. Don't nag so much, dear Caro.
That's right, you tell yourself. Don't nag, Caro. Leave your sister alone. You're both adults now. You need to learn to get along. You tell your sister she may do with Spartacus what she pleases, and she nods sleepily in response.
Of course I can. He's mine after all.
Of course, you reply with a note of recognition. Everything that is yours is your sister's, but the same does not hold true that everything that is hers is also yours. There is a definite imbalance here, an inherent unfairness which underpins your interactions. But you love your sister so much you do not want to question it. You should. What does matter if she runs electrical currents through poor Spartacus at odd hours? A lot? That does not alter how you feel about her. Maybe it should. You do not think anything cold. Wait, what? You do not think anything could? I think you meant to say cold here, but maybe I'm incorrect. You love her so much, you wish that thing could stay like this indefinitely. You and her, and your elderly tortoise, who accept being tortured with a benign knot of his head.
That's not a good Parfo.
But you know that is wishful thinking. Nothing can remain the same forever. As living beings, you naturally exude kinetic energy. Your lives are constantly in a state of flux, especially your sister. Eventually she will try to experiment on you. I have a feeling it might be the case in this situation. Maybe I'm wrong. I will see. Maybe the tonic will turn out, you know, negatively. A few days follow after your journey to the riverbank, and your sister has been in a curious mood since. She constantly paces about the atelier like a caged tiger, and she has been muttering herself with alarming frequency. You can hear her muttering now, even as you try to work, her plaintive tones breaking your cocoon of concentration.
No good. It's still not good enough. It's nowhere near enough.
Your sister mumbles, sounding more upset than you have ever heard her. More upset than you knew she could be. You blink, bemused, then lift your head. You stare at your sister, who is in turn staring down at herself. She's looking down her arm, so pale and slender, with the sleeve of her shirt rolled up. Her arm is very pale, but it is pockmarked here and there, with red bumps and lumps. Curious burns, old scars, new scars, blue, black bruises. You know that your sister has performed any number of peculiar experiments on herself. She often brings her fingertips to the flame to see how long she can hold them there. Draws her own blood from the inside of her arm. Ugh. Scrapes away her own dead skin to examine it beneath the lens of a microscope. Ugh. She's kinda crazy. Like, personally, for example, I know I would not be able to, like, try to draw my own blood with a, you know, syringe. Same, I would not be able to, like, give myself any type of shot. The sight of her bruised arm is not, therefore, too shocking. Not like I'm afraid of syringes for, like, just taking blood from me, go on. Giving me a shot, go on. Easy, but doing that on my own, I would not be able to, I think. Anyway, you're aware of your sister's peculiar proclivities. as it were, know every single cut and burn and bruise on her arms as though they are your own. But all the same, you do not like the disconsolate way she's looking at herself. Your sister is examining her injured, abused arm as if she claims no ownership of it, as if she does not know it. And it is the disconnect in her eyes which makes you shudder. What does she mean it's not enough? She isn't planning to cut her whole arm off next, is she? Solely to see how she might react? I mean, I imagine she would be in a lot of pain.
What?
Your sister replies to her voice cool. There is a pause and then...
No, of course not. I would never do something like that to myself.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, that line sounds kinda dangerous. But because she said just myself. That is what she says, at least, but it doesn't sound wholly convincing. Can she promise you that?
Naturally, I promise. I'm a scientist first and foremost, you know, and I need both my arms to conduct my experiments. It would only impair my research if I hurt myself too much. Which is where the problem lies, actually.
The problem?
Yes, there's a problem. I've been experimenting on myself the last couple of months,
Your sister says, her voice detached.
but my own body has run its course. I feel I can't extract any more useful information out of it.
Oh boy.
If I continue to ramp up the experiments, I'll hurt myself. I cannot let that happen, but I cannot stop my research either. I still want to reverse the death, but I can only learn so much about death from studying the living. Dead rats are all well and good, and so are dead cats, but they are not humans.
Uh-oh.
Their anatomy is not the same as ours. There's only so much I can glean from them. They too have outlived their usefulness.
Uh-oh. Here your sister pauses, she inhales. Your sister is not one for the theatrics, she is very matter-of-fact in all she does, and you do not think she means to create any suspense, not deliberately at least. She is simply pausing to think how best to word her following statement. Oh boy. You know she does not want to make you squirm, and yet?
So,
Your sister says, heedless of the knot which has begun to form in the pit of your stomach.
I need more human bodies to experiment upon. Dead bodies. That is the only way I'll be able to get the information that I need. I know it might sound macabre, but I think this is the next logical step. Do you not agree?
Your sister's eyes bore into you, cold and hard, so you shiver. For a few moments you do not speak, you do not know what to say. For you doubt there is anything you can say. It seems unlikely, as the seconds tick by, that there is anything you can do to dissuade her. Anything that might be able to curb her mounting madness. You tried once before, to little avail, for she is your beloved sister, the most precious person to you in all the world. She refused to listen to you. Your entreaties, earnest though they were, could not reach her. She has always been determined to walk her own path. She is headstrong to a fault, and once she has set her heart to something, she never wavers. You know, therefore, that she will not let this subject rest. Now she has decided she wishes to experiment upon corpses. There is no going back. But still, you feel compelled to offer up at least a token resistance. It seems like the very least you could do, grimly aware that that it will soon be swept away. You inhale, one hand upon her chest, then ask her to reconsider. If she wishes to cut up corpses, can she not attend her lectures again? They have plentiful material she can use, without having to resort to procuring them herself. Surely that would be more ethical.
But I can't go back to the uni.
Your sister argues, her eyes wide behind the lenses of her glasses.
I won't go back there, not until my research has made great strides. And to do that, I need to find more bodies. I'll not be able to get anywhere at this rate.
Right. You understand her frustration, of course, but you cannot say you like this idea. Is there no other way?
No,
Your sister says, her voice stiff.
if there was, I wouldn't have suggested it. It would be illogical otherwise.
Well, she has a point there. You cannot argue with that.
Then don't argue with me, Kara, please.
Your sister rises as she speaks onto her slender, deer-like limbs. She takes a step forward, then reaches out. She presses her fingers to your yielding flesh, digits splayed as she entreats you.
I need your help. I can't do this alone. I'm trusting you with this. The future of my research rests upon your shoulders. Can you not aid me?
You shudder. All of a sudden your mouth is dry. Your throat too, as if it has been stuffed full of ashes. For a few moments you cannot speak, you can only blink. There's a pause, and then...
I'm not asking you to kill anybody, Kara. I would never ask you to become a murderess for me. But just think of the future. Think of a world where nobody needs to die. I think that is worth a sacrifice or two. and a few exhumed graves.
Okay. So we are going to be grave digging, huh? Great. A few? One exhumed grave is a tall order already, but...
Alright, disregard that. One is enough for now. It is more than enough. I just want to have a cadaver here, so I might examine it properly. You just need to dig up a single grave. I'm sure I can find some pauper's grave, somebody who will not be missed.
You are sure she's right, but putting the practical concerns to one side, does she not think that awfully macabre? And also, I mean, even if you dig out a person, wouldn't the body be too decomposed and so on by now? I feel like... maybe I'm incorrect. There is a high chance, but I feel like experimenting on a decomposed body would not bring you a lot of results. I feel like maybe if you experiment on that, it should be, or it would have to be fresh after the death of a person. But maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm not. Anyway. You fear if you were to dig up a corpse, you would never be admitted to heaven. Not after committing so wicked a sin. Would it be considered a sin? Would that not make you evil? I don't know about that. Okay, so given that she considers heaven and so on, she must be Christian basically. So wouldn't you say that just what your sister is trying to do is already possibly a sin? Because if human life, you know, you are born and at the end you die, right? So that's how the life is built. If your sister tries to research the stoppage of death, wouldn't that alone already be a sin? Just a little weird thought that I tend to have when recording videos, I guess.
I fail to see how. Dogs dig out bones all the time. Does that make them evil?
Well, no, reply, but that is an unfair argument. Okay, dogs are amazing and they cannot be evil. Because they have no concept of human morality. Actually, there are some that can be considered evil, I guess. Depends how they are raised. Then again, there are some dogs that I would not come close to.
Then do away with your own notions of morality. Don't let it scare you against the greater good. There are many people, you know, who have lived lives devoid of meaning.
Yeah.
They lived and they drank and they gambled and did some other stuff and they died in ignominy. These are pointless lives, worthless lives, even one might say. But in death I can bestow new meanings upon them. I can make them worth something. Do you not think this is a wonderful thing?
You look at your sister mutely, her palms still cupping your cheeks, her eyes so wide and searching you could drown in them. You would hesitate to call this wonderful. Your sister's determination, her raw, unshakable certainty, makes you shudder. But in the end you capitulate to her whims, you have no other choice. Your sister knows exactly where to press and what to pull to make you fall into line, to make you obey. And you would not have it any other way. Problematic. Problematic. It is because of your sister that you find yourself in the local graveyard later that night with nothing but a lantern to light your way. You are able to enter the graveyard at night? Interesting. I mean, in my town you cannot, that's for sure. How do I know? Because I did have my old, running routine going next to the cemetery, basically. And it's always been closed, basically, in the evening. I don't know what hour for exactly they close, but who cares. Anyway, it is a dark, cold night, not quite stormy, not yet, at least, for based on the grey clouds which swirl overhead, a storm is beyond the realm of possibility. You draw your shawl about you, but your hands are otherwise encumbered, occupied by the handles of a wheelbarrow, which you co-opted for your dark bidding. You intend to use this barrow to transport the corpse from the churchyard to your home. The corpse you will most definitely dig up and bequeath to your sister, for that is what she wants. It is what she asks for of you. Inside the burrow, in your trusty lamp, which cleaves a path through the fog, and your shovel, which you will need to exhume the grave. Both your hands are occupied pushing the barrow forward, so you cannot pause to wind your shawl about you. All you can do is tremble instead, feeling like a small, sad, piteous thing, as the wind moans. It is very late, well past midnight. It's not that late. And there are no lights in the immediate vicinity. The windows of the church are dark, and the nearby houses have been shuttered, their curtains drawn. At least you have the moon to guide you, round and full like a wheel of cheese in the heavens, but is obscured by the clouds. You can only see a few slivers of the moon, but what little you can gather looks ghostly, ominous, maybe a little too close. You swear when you glance up that you can see a face in the moon's pitted, aged surface. A face with large dark eyes and a sneering mouth which seems to mock you from afar with cold contempt. She's already feeling guilty, I guess. Sort of. The wind sighs, however, stirring the clouds like a witch's brew, and when you look up once more, you cannot see the malevolent face grinning at you. Do you imagine it then? Surely you must have. You are nervy. Well, of course you are. It is awfully late, and you cannot help but jump at the smallest of things. You hear ominous whispers in the undergrowth, feel cold fingers of fog brush your ankles with every single step you take. Every sound, no matter how subtle, makes your heart stammer in your chest, while every sigh of the breeze sounds like an omen. You do not want to keep going. You want to be rid of this night, to flee from it, curled up beneath your sheets, where the darkness and the fog and the ominous moonlight cannot reach you. But your promise to your sister prevents you from running. You cannot look back now. You cannot bear to disappoint her. The thought is enough to break your heart, which has never been made of stern stuff. Have you always been so weak, you wonder, with each step you take? When did you become so pathetic? What do you mean? I believe this is basically breaking a law, so you can't say that. You're just being reasonable. Ah, you really are pitiful. Your love for sister has turned you into a fool. Yes. But that is what love is, I'm afraid. Yeah. It makes idiots out of us all. Especially weak, spineless creatures like you, with no dreams or aspirations of your own. You wander through the churchyard, depressing the tall grass underfoot, hearing a soft supple crunch as it falls beneath your soles. You glance about this way and that, eyes narrowed, searching for a suitable target. You need to find an inauspicious grave, one which can be exhumed without drawing too much attention. The churchyard is a mismatched, motley collection of graves which span centuries, scattered across the grass like pieces of bric-a-brac in a second-hand furniture shop. You see large, ornate graves which were obviously constructed for wealthy families, lowering structures with stone angels atop them, their hands together in a prayer. You see smaller, humbler graves, fashioned into simple shapes, now a little weather-beaten, crosses and books spread open, inscriptions chiseled into the stone. You see graves which look small and simple, discolored stone lozenges, yet it is clear they are still well cared for. Okay, now we are talking about graves. I don't get why people would want super fancy graves for themselves or their families. Like, what's the point? You're literally not going to impress anyone with that. Some of the larger gravestones, those with ostentatious angels, are bed of offerings. Yeah, because everyone finds the angels creepy. The angel's eyes overgrown with soft, springy moss. Some of the smaller gravestones, meanwhile, have clearly been well cared for. They have been cleaned recently, and there are small offerings lying before them. Flowers, little candles in jars, and, in one case, several boiled sweets, all wrapped up in colored paper. There's something touching about these little offerings. Something sweetly, softly domestic. The sight of the flowers, and especially the sweets, makes you smile. Perhaps the world is not so very cold and cruel after all. But you cannot spend too much time pondering such things. You have not come here to examine these old graves, or to read the inscriptions carved into them. You are here to find a gift for your sister, a carcass that nobody will miss. Huh. The large, ostentatious graves are no good, even the ones which have been left to go to rack and ruin. Somebody would notice if you disturb them, and anyway, some of these larger graves are ringed with wrought iron to prevent any ne'er-do-wells like you from getting into the bodies. You give these smaller, well-cared-for graves a wide berth too. You cannot bring yourself to dig up the grave of a person whose family still routinely comes to give them offerings. And anyway, it is inevitable somebody would notice if you began to churn up all of the turf too. You bypass these graves and continue to walk on and on. Okay, so you're basically looking for some grave that looks not taken care of at all. Got it. Until eventually you find the perfect target. There's a small one, crumbling tombstone in the back of the churchyard. A tombstone so weathered and wasted the wind that rain must have whittled it down. This particular tombstone juts out from the ground like a broken tooth. Dark and decayed, several cracks run through this tombstone, and a few pieces of it have broken, craggy lumps of granite scattered through all the tall grass. This sad, sorry tombstone is shunted near the back of the churchyard, obscured beneath the shade of a copse of tangled elm trees. At this tombstone that you pause. You approach it, squinting in the dark, holding your lantern aloft. Oh my, I just had a thought. Should I say it? What? Okay, I'll say it. What if Caroline ends up digging up a person, right? And it will turn out it will be a parent of her sister. But then again, by now that body would be decomposed to the bones, wouldn't it? She won't be able to experiment on that. I still claim that she basically needs a fresh body. But you would like to know who is interred here beneath the dirt before you begin to dig. If only you could, if you can apologize to them for disturbing them. But the letters on the gravestone are almost illegible, incomprehensible. They've been worn away. That does not bode well. If the corpse has been buried too long, it might very well have turned into a skeleton. Your sister was not overly picky about what corpse she wanted, but she said she wished for it to have meat enough on its bones to cut into. You wonder whether you oughtn't to double check on yourself to go for a newer, fresher grave. But this would be your safest bet if you do not want to be discovered. And did your sister not tell you the grounds of this churchyard are special? What? What do you mean? The moat is silty and there are chemical compounds in the soil which can ease the progress of decay. You do not know much about this yourself, for you have spent many years aiding your sister. You've never been as adept at science as she, but you decide to trust her on this matter. She asks you to exhume a corpse, and that is what you will do. Your sister will have her pound of flesh, one way or another. You can only hope there is at least a pound of flesh still attached to his corpse, who has been sleeping beneath the earth for God knows how long. You do not want to disturb this nameless sleeper, who has been underground so very long. Their name has worn off their headstone, but what choice do you have? If forced to pick between a distended dead body and your sister's happiness would win out every single time. That is how much you love her. You inhale the scent of dirt in your nostrils of the bitter, acrid air. The sky overhead is dark and thick with clouds, and you think it might rain soon. It smells like rain. Part of you wishes it would, if only because it would put this night of madness to a close. You can hardly go disturbing the bodies in the middle of a rainstorm. But another part of you hopes that the rain holds off for an hour or so, at least, so you can complete your sister's request. You do not want to go back home empty-handed. You are doing this for her. This has always been for her. So you set your lamp on the side. You retrieve your shovel, which is lying in the barrow, tall and straight and seemingly innocuous. Then you press its sharp tip into the dirt and begin to dig. You dig and dig and you dig. The silvery tip of the shovel is slicing through the earth, and as you dig, you start to ponder. You feel somewhat guilty for disturbing somebody else's labor, overwriting it with your own clumsy, irrelevant scrabbling. This whole affair is disrespectful, not just in regards of the dead, who have been slumbering peacefully beneath the ground, but towards the sexton who must have buried these bodies in the first place. Is that the name of the person who does that? I didn't know. You are sure the sexton took a lot of time to inter this body beneath the dirt, in the darkness, but you are undoing it all. There is something disrespectful about it all. This act of vandalism makes you shudder. But you still keep going. You dig and dig and you dig, for your arms begin to age. Whoops. From the strain of it. For even more sweat begins to bed upon your brow. It is no easy work. You are unaccustomed to physical labor, and every single arc of the shovel through the dark air makes your arm age. Your fingers tense around the handle of the shovel, taut, and your breath escapes from between your lips in pained hisses. The more you dig, the more it hurts. The strain in your body only continues to get stronger, the pressure almost unbearable. But bear it! You do. You have no other choice. You work and you work and you work over and over, until eventually the silver head of your shovel hits something hard. Not a stone or a pebble, but something flat and smooth. Is that the coffin? You dig all the more, frenzied like a dog, until at long last you are able to uncover your prize. It is indeed a coffin, a roughly hewn wooden thing, which has caved in from the pressure of all the dirt resting atop it. You had worried that you might need to fuss with the screws in the coffin in an attempt to pry them out, but you are in luck. You can already see the corpse interred within. Glimpses of it at least. You just need to clear away the large splinters of broken wood. Then you can finally free your prize, and you won't need to worry about the nails. Simple! Well, it sounds simple when you say it like that, but nothing about this enterprise has been. You do not relish the thought of jumping down the hole you have dug, 7 feet deep, then prizing open the lid of the worm-eaten coffin, but what choice do you have? You've already come this far, have exposed your prize before your roving gaze. You can hardly back out now. You draw in a deep breath, trying to steady yourself. Then into the darkness you descend. You let yourself in the hole you have dug with a dull tooth, scattering clouds of dirt in the process. The soles of your shoes press against the shattered lid of the coffin, which ruptures beneath your weight, groaning as if in pain. The sound of the splintering coffin fills the churchyard, a low painted cry like an animal in distress. For a few moments you stand there frozen, your blood ice cold with fear, but nobody comes to apprehend you. There is nobody to witness you in this appalling arcane act. There is just you and the stars and the moon. Perhaps the moon can see you from beyond the veil of clouds which cover it, Perhaps it knows what you're doing, a large staring eye, but if it does, it passes no judgment. Maybe it's quiet judgment. It cannot speak, after all. The churchyard is eerily quiet. In fact, as you said about your macabre misdeeds. You prise open the lid of the coffin, scrubbing with your fingertips the beds of your nails dark with dirt. It takes no shortage of finagling. You are not the fittest of young ladies, but you are able to make progress. Slowly unveil your prize from the darkened depths of the coffin. The flesh still there, but sloughing from the bones, the face sunken and the eyes reduced to a putrid jelly within the staring sockets. Ugh. The smell is overwhelming. Trapped in its coffin beneath the ground for God you know how long, the sting of it rushes forwards to greet you, just like a tin of pill shards open after 5 years spent in the sunlight. The stench is intense and oppressive, so much so you have hardly the words for it. You don't know how you will describe this part of the grave robbing experience to anybody. Maybe don't. But it is unlikely you will need to describe this to anybody save your sister. Why would you tell anybody of this? You would serve only to incriminate yourself. No blood on your hands, but dirt. God, there's so much dirt, so much soil and silt and mud and sludge and slime. It coats your hands, stains your skirts. You feel sick and oh so achy. Weary all the way down to the bones, and the marrow which lies within them. But you're not finished yet! Now you need to remove the exposed body from its hole. You need to extract it from the cavity you have created, then convey it to... safety? Are you taking this body to safety? It seems unlikely given your sister's designs upon it. You know based on how eagerly she disassembles things that she will not be gentle to the corpse. She'll take it apart, piece by piece, to see how it all fits together, and based on her mood, she might not put it back together. Your sister always has been mercurial. A woman who will run electric currents through the cranium of an elderly tortoise out of scientific interest is not to be trusted with a dead body. I mean, even more so with a body of a living being. But we've come this far, and once again, you did promise your sister. You will get her the flesh, raw and rotting, exuding the stink of the grave. How she treats it is of no concern to you. Nothing else matters, save her happiness. You are able to hold the corpse out of the hole in the ground. For how you manage it, you are not quite sure. And then you deposit rather gracelessly in your barrow. The corpse is in surprisingly good shape, even it has been buried for such a long time. But is brittle too, the bones fragile like dried kindling. You drop it into the barrow with a bit too much force, and there is an unpleasant crack as the back of its head hits the barrow's rim, a snap as the right hand catches beneath the body. You would not be surprised if you had broken a few bones, you always have been clumsy, as poor Safi will attest. But at least you do not put out your new companion's eyes. It might be quite a difficult task, even its eyes have more or less melted, a dark brown fluid slopping around inside the sockets as if it were an oyster shell. Stop. You shudder. During your attempts to hold the corpse upwards, it began to rain. Now these icy droplets drum on you, your scalp, shoulders, and down the back of your dress. When you glance back, you see the hole you dug is in an awful state. It's swimming with water, and the mud has turned red in the moon's light. Ooh, silty and squelching. You don't fancy going back to the hole you made to fill it up anew, but you must. You have no choice. You cannot let anybody know that you were here. If anybody were to see the gaping open hole left behind, they would know what you have done, and that would defeat the point of targeting this grave in the first place. You need to think more, use your head. This way your sister was admitted to university, not you. Think, Caroline. You approach the grave that you have dug, the deep rectangular hole gaping in the damp wet earth, and as you do you wonder whether this is what you really desired. Do you make mistakes somewhere along the line? Certainly you never dreamed of digging a hole in the dirt late at night for your sister's benefit, and smearing yourself with soil into the bargain. You never dreamed that supporting your sister would be such a dangerous, degrading affair. You never realized how difficult it would be. Perhaps you did not want to. You wanted to believe that if you served your sister willingly, she would be gracious enough to see you as an equal, but is that really true? How can she see you as an equal when she has you running errands like this for her? Does that not prove she does not respect you? Those thoughts swirl about in your mind, dark and sinister, just like the soil you shovel back into the hole your pilfered corpse once called home. You heap into the earth. You heap the earth into the hole, while the rain falls around you, so cold you hiss from it. The ground is horribly muddy, wet and unstable, and you almost fall forwards on several occasions. Once you drop your shovel and, your heart beating wildly, you fear you will pitch head first into your half-full hole, into the dirt and the darkness. But you are able to right yourself just in time, before the worst can happen. You sigh with relief upon gaining your bearings, wiping your sweaty brow with the back of your dirty arm. But now is no time to celebrate. You just dug up a corpse and it is waiting for you, now in a wheelbarrow. You've committed a vile act, wicked and profane. But you did it for love. You did it for your sister. You did it to make her smile. And as you pat the last of the dirt down to the grave you once exhumed, you find yourself wondering, maybe the rain is God's way of saying he forgives you for your sin? Maybe the rain means to cleanse you of your crimes, to purify you from the outside in. Maybe there is still hope for you after all. Child of God, who strayed from the path so readily, salvation is ahead, you just need to reach out and grasp it. That is what you tell yourself. But the only thing you grasp are the handles of the barrow, where your putrefying burden waits. You exit the graveyard, ripping your barrow all the while. Your shoes slap against the cobblestones, and as they do, you try to reassure yourself that you did nothing wrong, that you were only trying to aid your sister. It will be alright. You have struggled too much tonight for it to not be fine. You continue to tell yourself this, repeating it like a mantra, as you wend your way through the streets with your gruesome package. Typically, it would not take much longer than 10 minutes for you to reach your home from the churchyard, but with your burden, the barrow, and the body within it takes at least thrice that. You have to walk slowly, taking care as you navigate the cobblestones not to be seen. Even a single sound makes you start. The laughter of distant drunken revelers, enough to make your heart seize up your inner chest. You cannot risk anybody seeing you. Your hands stained with dirt to the elbows and the gruesome bundle which you are transporting. It takes a small eternity, every single noise makes you startle, but eventually you reach your destination. You arrive back home. You let yourself inside gratefully, the key kicking in the lock and almost collapsing in the entrance. You inhale deeply, pressing one hand to your chest as you try to gather your bearings. You've always thought the air in your sister's atelier to be horribly stuffy, but you welcome it now. You are tired after all of that walking, and you are sick of the smell of the outside, the stench of the dirt, the air and the rain. You would like to draw yourself a bath, then dress for bed and sleep the rest of the night away, the ensuing day too. But you have your new companion to worry about, and you cannot simply leave them in the entrance. Unwillingly you look back at your guest. You take in its... You don't know if it is a man or a woman. Atrophied face, its bruised broken hands, the mottled skin which slows like strips of torn linen from its chest. You suppress a shudder, your fingers tensing, nails sinking into your palms. Somehow the corpse looks even worse in the light of your sister's atelier. You did not notice before in the dark how mottled its skin was, purple-green, like the fuzz of an overripe peach. You did not realize how sunken its cheeks, how matted its hair, how putrid its eyes, or what remains of them. But this is what your sister wanted. This is what she asked for, and you have delivered. Now, you need only present the fruits of your hard work to your sister. You force yourself to approach the corpse resting in the barrow, for the smell is truly atrocious, the says its handles anew. Then, you wheel the barrow further into your atelier, into your inner sanctum. You take it to the study where you and your sister often work, poring at your respective desks surrounded by books. But to your disappointment, for not necessarily your surprise, your sister is not awake to greet your new guest. She has worn herself out again, and she has fallen asleep at her desk. Her cheek presses against her inner arm, her fair eyelashes matted. Her face is slightly flushed in slumber, though only slightly, and her chest rises and falls in sleep. You observe her for a few moments, gripping the handles of the burrow, and as you do, you are struck with a sudden, unexpected anger. What is she doing sleeping? How can she slumber like this, without a care in the world? When she has been making you do all of the dirty work. The least she could do is thank you for digging up the corpse like a dog, the ungrateful! But you take another look at your sister, so small and defenseless in her slumber, and your complaints die in your throat. You cannot even begin to bring yourself to utter them. Indeed, you feel guilty for even thinking them. You cannot hurl such an abuse at your sister. You love her, after all. You must love her. If you do not, then why did you dig up this corpse to begin with? Right. Stupid! You chastise yourself, your eyelids squeezing shut. You are so stupid. Well, never matter. You will simply leave the barrow here, then by your sister's side. She will see the corpse when she wakes, and she will know instinctively what it means. She'll know what you've done for her, and maybe then she'll understand how you really feel about her. Kinda adapt. Right now, that is the only hope you have to cling to. You wake the following morning to an unpleasant smell, one of iron. Your eyelids flutter open, disturbed by the unusual smell, thick and heavy and uncomfortably cloying. The back of your head meanwhile drops. You feel faintly sick, but for a few moments you cannot remember why. You lie on your bed, wondering why you feel so exhausted, why your limbs are aching so awfully. But it soon comes back to you, in a horrible rush. You can still remember digging up that body. You wince as nausea ripples through you, thick and fast. Your stomach roils as you remember the cloying smell of soil and rotting flesh, the stink of the grave, and you almost vomit. Almost, but not quite. Vomiting now would be impractical. It would only make a mess that you would have to clean up later. It is better not to bother, and there are many other things you could be doing. You stink. You want a bath, and badly, but the pervasive smell of iron is so intense it banishes all rational thought. What is that smell? You have a back idea, of course, but curiosity as always spurs you onwards. You rise to your feet, for your legs feel weak, ready to give out beneath the weight of your body, then exit your room. Then you approach your sister's makeshift laboratory, the space which was once the living room, which she has co-opted for her experiments. It is from here, as you expected, that the unpleasant stench is the strongest. You have an idea of what you might see long before you open the door, before you can confront the truth. But you still gasp at what you see, at what you knew you would see. Your sister is standing by a mortuary slab, purchased at an auction from an abandoned hospital, a large grim piece of furniture stained rust red from years of use. In one hand your sister holds a scalpel. On her face meanwhile is a look of intense concentration. She's poring over the corpse you liberated from the churchyard last night, exhumed from their grave, only to be split apart from neck to crotch. The corpse looks almost bloated in the dim lights of your sister's makeshift laboratory. Its face has turned purple, for as it was always purple, you do not know. Its head hangs loosely, eyes like melted wax, innards escaping from the cavernous hole in its stomach. Outwards now, you think, with an inappropriate peal of anxious laughter.
Oh, it's you. Don't startle me like that.
It is her laughter, you think, which rouses your sister's attention. She was so focused upon the corpse on the table, she must not have heard your approaching footsteps, the sound of the opening door. She does hear your punning giggle, however, and upon hearing it, she frowns.
Would you shut the door, Caro? You're going to let in the cold air.
This is such a banal thing to say, in the face of what she's doing, that it seems almost ludicrous. Once again, you have to suppress the urge to giggle. You bite the inside of your cheek, feeling fevered. Are you going insane, or is it because of the rain last night? And apologize. You shut the door behind you, for you not want much to do. You do not want to trap yourself inside this room with a mouldering corpse and ask your sister what she means to do.
I thought that would be obvious. I'm dissecting the specimen you brought me.
Well, yes, you can see that, but why?
I've already told you why. It is for science. I need to take it apart first if I am to learn how to put it back together. Just like your father's snuff box, you remember, and the carriage clock.
Yeah, you say. Your voice hesitant. You understand that. But didn't she break your father's carriage clock?
Some sacrifices must be made for the sake of progress. Not that this is any great sacrifice. They were already dead.
You know that, but...
Don't worry, I'm not doing this because I derive any sadistic pleasure from cutting open corpses. I'm doing this to help people. Remember what my aim is, Caro.
Craziness? Yes, you know. She wants to ensure that nobody has to suffer the same fate as her mother, who died slowly and painfully from consumption. She wants to save the people.
Yes, that's right. This is for the greater good, you see? I want to save people. But if I'm to do that, I need to understand how people work. Medical students do much the same thing. I'm only following in their footsteps. If I wish to put people back together, I first need to take them apart, that's all.
Your sister says this in a very matter-of-fact manner, as for it is common sense, and perhaps to her it is. You can see the logic into, there is no malice in your sister's actions, only an intellectual curiosity and a genuine desire to do good. But for all of her lofty claims of wishing to save people, you wish she did not need to do it in so gruesome a manner. That corpse really does stink! Now,
are you going to keep standing there?
your sister says, inclining her head.
Or will you help me?
Help you, you ask? Somewhat hesitant, your gorge rising. How can you do that? Surely she does not want you to pick up a scalpel and...
Oh no, I would not ask you to go that far, but you might fetch me a bucket. I need something to put the organs in.
Right. Of course. That makes sense. Your sister would not ask you to cut up a body. Of course she would never do something so wicked. But exhuming one from a graveyard? Fetching a bucket of all things so she might use it to contain its removed organs. Your sister would ask you to do that and more. You have never before thought this of your sister, but now you're beginning to wonder just how shameless she is. You stand with your sister in her makeshift laboratory for some 2 hours, further her dutiful assistant to the end. You fetch her containers for the various organs, clean her equipment, and listen to her postulations as she cuts and slices and sews at bones. You try to endure it as best as you can. The smell of spilled blood. How can people outfute? Wouldn't you smell it outside even of that atelier then? I would assume you would, right? I mean, given the fact that she, described it, in a way that it's a crazy stench. Which made me not surprised. I feel like maybe you'll be able to smell it, not... Also outside of the atelier. Anyway, the smell of spilled blood, of decaying, decomposing flesh, but it waves up on you. The stink of it brings tears to your eyes, and you have to swallow down the urge to vomit on numerous occasions. Eventually, your sister finishes with this macabre art project of hers, and once she finishes, you soon excuse yourself. You retreat outside, desperate to feel the fresh air upon your cheeks, to inhale the scent of the earth and the air, rather than the stink of a carrion corpse. You press a hand to your mouth, trying to quell the nausea that continues to roil inside of you. Tightly you close your eyes. You try to inhale slowly, deliberately, but it is all for nothing. Your stomach lurches. Then you bend and eject the contents of your stomach onto the grass. All frothy yellow-brown bile. Ugh. Weakly you groan. You feel a little better after vomiting, but it is all as if all of your energy has voided your body with your last meal. You're exhausted. All the physical activity from the night prior is catching up to you, and, scarred from the inside out, you no longer have the strength to stand. Understandable. Maybe. I don't know. Is it? I imagine, like, the whole act would, like, exhaust you in general. Not physically, but mentally. I think it's a crazy thing what they did here, so yeah. You glance back at your sister's atelier and floor. You are unsure whether you wish to go back indoors once more to brave the stink of the grave. But what other choice do you have? You are no dog, and you are hardly going to sleep outside! Sharply hoping to take the crisp outdoors air with you. Then you step inside. Your home once more, a place which was once your home at least. But now, bathed in the stink of the entrails, it no longer feels like it. Your head spins, you feel like an unwelcome intruder. As for you are trespassing in somebody else's home. You know what this actually reminds me a little bit? It reminds me of the fact that once I lost one of my jobs, right? I actually did apply to a job that deals with dead bodies and, you know, putting them to the ground and so on. So basically, yeah. But in the end I was like, you know what, no, it's not for me. I feel like, well, first of all, personality-wise, I would not be fit to deal, you know, with people who had a loss. And, okay, I will tell you main reason. They told me that beginning of the work is at 6 in the morning, okay? And I'm like, oh, no thanks then. 6 a.m. is ridiculous. Well, there were other stuff as well, like, alright, so we'll pay you this much, but on the contract you will have minimum wage. I'm like, no, we are not doing it like that as well. No. Also, you'll be paid more if you will do night shifts on the phone. No. Yeah, kinda ridiculous. Anyway. Your head spins, you feel like an unwelcome intruder. As for you are trespassing in somebody else's home. You fear that you no longer belong here. But there is nowhere else for you to go. You return to your little used bedroom, which you rarely sleep in, feeling utterly drained, devoid of energy. Then you collapse onto the bed, sliding sideways like a marionette whose strings have been cut. You hit the mattress, which sinks beneath your weight. Your eyelids fall shut. Then, buoyed by the smell of corpses which continues to fill your home, you sleep. You surrender yourself to dreams where nothing can hurt you, where nothing can go wrong.
I mean, you have a kinda crazy sister, so...
You sleep, and you sleep, and you sleep. And you do not wake up because your sister took you for experiments now. Which would not be surprising. But you eventually wake up. It is inevitable that you would, for nobody can sleep forever. However much you might wish for it, however much you might will it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Your eyelids flutter open inevitably, inexorably. You expect upon waking that you will find yourself in your room once more, curled on your side beneath your sheets, your loose hair splayed across the pillow. Oh shit. But your expectations go unanswered. You soon find, upon opening your eyes, that you are not in your room, and neither are you lying on your bed. You are lying down, yes, but on your back, the calf of your spine pressed against something cold, hard, and unforgiving. Your arms, meanwhile, have been held at your sides, fixed in place by cold, unmoving steel. I fucking knew it, man. I knew it. You feel these manacles brushing against your inner arm almost intimately, and you hiss from the shock of it. The steel saps what little warmth your body still possesses, and you shiver. Where in the world are you? You look about uneasily, trying to plumb the shadows with your wide and anxious eyes, for part of you already knows, of course, what is going to happen. You can tell by the smell alone, even if you cannot tell by your surroundings. You are in your sister's operating theater. You're lying up on the mortuary slope, purchased second-hand from that old hospital, the slope which has always made you shudder, owing to the rust, red splatter over its assuming surface. You have seen your sister perform several operations upon this slab before, mostly of cats and dogs, for yesterday's calver was a new development, but you have always watched from a distance. You have stood by your sister, dutifully disinfecting her equipment and wiping her brow of sweat. You stood afar and you let her work, and you dreamed of the day when her research would be rewarded, when she would be hailed as some sort of visionary genius. Yeah, I mean, I hail her someone who should be locked up in an asylum, or who should be ended, considering also the times. You dreamed of the day when the world would regard your sister as you do, but now you fear you will never see that happen. It is with wide eyes that you glance about, searching for something, anything lurking in the shadows. And as you do, you spy a diminutive figure, a flash of silver. Naturally, it's your sister. Her expression is that of scientific curiosity. It's the same expression she wears when observing any of her specimens, the pickled animal fetuses and their innards suspended inside glass jars. In her right hand, meanwhile, she grips something sharp. Uh-oh. Her scalpel. Uh-oh. You know what this means before she approaches, before she can utter so much as a single word, but still you feel compelled to address her. What in the world is she doing? What is going on? You ask her questions and more, decibels catching in the throat, chaffing at it, just like the iron restraints around your wrists. You ask her what she means to do with you lying as you are on this cold mortuary slab, for you already know what she's plotting. You've already seen what she's capable of. You know full well what she means to do, but you still ask regardless. You cannot help but hope. I suppose this part of being a person, something which makes you instinctively, intrinsically human. We cannot help but wish for the best, even when our circumstances are decidedly dismal. But I am forgetting myself. I ought not interject in this story. It is not mine to tell, not right now at least. What? You look at your sister, your pale face taut, but full of hope, full of desperate, frantic pleas for mercy.
I apologize, but I had a revelation. Cutting that corpse made me realize something. One body is not enough. I need much, much more if I'm going to complete my research properly.
That bitch. But your hopes soon die in the moment your sister utters these fateful words. They are words which are familiar to you, words your sister has said many times before. It is not enough. For her it is never enough. Her appetite for learning is an intense, insatiable thing, voracious. It exists within her like a black hole, dark and deadly, sucking everything which dares approach too close. You should have known, and perhaps deep down part of you did know, that one course would never be able to satisfy her.
I'm not doing this.
Your sister continues, her voice wavering over so slightly.
Because I have any vendetta against you. On the contrary, I love you. You are my dearest friend, Carol. You are more precious to me than anybody else in the world.
Bullshit.
But I love my mother too. I had to watch as she suffered. She died slowly, agonizingly, and I do not want that to happen to anybody else. I want to save her and all the people like her. So I need to gather more data. I need to conduct even more experiments. Slicing open the corpse was instructive, but it did not answer all of my questions. I need to operate on somebody who is still alive, somebody whose blood still runs through the veins. I need to do this for the sake of my research. That is all. I hope there are no hard feelings.
Oh, there would be a lot of hard feelings.
Hard feelings, bitch?
You stare up at your sister, stunned in silence by the wave of her words. How can there be no hard feelings? She is chained to her stained operating table. She means to slice you open. You cannot help but have hard feelings. You love her, yes, but you adore her. More than anybody in the world, but that is why it hurts so much. Haven't you done everything she ever asked for? Haven't you been the best sister she could ever hope for? The best assistant?
Of course you have. You have answered to my every wish and whim, no matter how selfish, and I know they have been selfish.
There you have the problem. And now she's like, so I'll take now what I want again.
You have better to me than I deserve.
Then why, you ask her, your voice entreating, are you doing this? Why go this far?
I already told you. It's for science. We must all make sacrifices in the name of progress. That is how we can advance.
But why sacrifice you? If she must operate on a person who still lives, why choose the person she supposedly loves the most? Why not choose somebody at random, one of the students at the university which she never attends?
Why, you ask?
Your sister replies, her expression ponderous. There is pause and then...
Well, that would not be a proper sacrifice. I do not love the students at the university. They mean nothing to me, not like you, Caro. You are my precious sister. You are the one who has always taken care of me. You are the one I love. So it stands to reason that you will be the biggest sacrifice of all. I love you more than anybody. So you are the one I must give up if I want to make any progress. That is simply how it is.
But that makes no sense, you cry. Trash against your restraints. Nobody does you any good, of course. They are made of hard, immovable steel and they do not budge. You squirm, but succeed only making the metal bite into your wrists. It hurts. A lot. But you fancy the scalpel held in your sister's hand will hurt even more when she slides it beneath your skin, onion. You stare at her, eyes wide, begging for mercy, for relief, for even a little bit of sympathy. There is none, is there? But for your sister looks pain, she does not relent. She looks down at you and then says,
I'm sorry, Kara. I know this must be hard for you. Well, yeah.
You think that is something of an understatement?
But it's hard for me too. Please try to understand. I'm not doing this for the sake of it.
Yes, you do.
It is important if I'm to continue with my research. And you did say that you would always support me. You promised.
Time to break the promise. Ah, there it is. It would seem that your old promise conducted on the banks of the river have come back to haunt you. Told you. She's right, of course. You always did want to support her. But never did you imagine she would demand this of you.
Yeah, well, that is part of the problem.
Your sister says lightly.
You have always been supremely unimaginative, Caro. That is why you have been content to call me your sister for all of those years, is it not?
What? You look at your sister blankly, your brow furrowed. What is she talking about?
Well, this is only an assumption,
your sister says.
But I have always thought you looked at me in a way which sisters oughtn't.
So she noticed how you have always regarded her, did she? Well, of course, she did. Your sister is a scientist. Her observational powers are second to none. Used to believe that she had an eye only for experiments, and that she was wholly unconcerned with other people's feelings, but perhaps you were mistaken. Even now, your sister finds new ways to surprise you. And that is saying something, even she has you secured to a mortuary slab. You look at your sister with anxious eyes, your face flushed, your heart flutters in your chest, but still you ask her what she means. There is nothing suspect about feelings for her. How can there be? You are sister after all, and...
We are not related.
Your sister says softly.
By blood. We are not sisters, no matter how much you might wish it to be so. And I believe your feelings for me have always been more intimate than that. I see it sometimes the way you gaze lingers on me. I hear it too, in your voice and the things that you say to me. I believe you care for me more intensely than you would like to admit. But such feelings can be scary.
Feelings? Scary? What you're doing is scary. Your sister continues, now leaning in to caress your cheek.
And you have always been weak, Kara. You fear what other people think, and you cannot stand the thought of being scorned. You knew that your feelings for me were unacceptable, so you thought it before to refrain them. In referring to me as your sister, you made your feelings something irreproachable, something devoid of judgment. You tried to put your feelings for me inside a box so you need never examine them too carefully. But I'm a scientist, you know, and I cannot help but poke around at things I oughtn't. I do not like leaving things so unambiguous. We are not sisters, but perhaps we are something even closer.
Even closer? She might be right, you admit begrudgingly, but what could be even closer than sisters? You can hardly imagine it. You feel like you oughtn't try to imagine it for fear it might be something profane, but...
You are proving my point.
So your sister rejoins, her expression soft, her smile sweet.
You cannot imagine much of anything, Caro, which is probably why you are so scared. No! That's not the reason, you dumbass! So let me explain what will happen next. You may die at my hands, but I will revive you.
Bullshit.
Then we can be together forever, I promise.
It is not a very urging promise. You tell her as much, and she frowns, her lips pursed into a suggestion of a pout.
Are you telling me that you doubt my science?
Hell yeah! Oh no, you heard it say. Why would you say that? Afraid for these might very well be your last moments. Then honestly make them the moments you regret. That you have upset her, offended her, your sister who is not your sister, but whom you love more than anybody in the world. She could cut you open, and you would still adore her. Why? You cannot help yourself. Why? Even if she stuck her scalpel inside of you, only your innards would ooze out. None of your love for her would escape your body. That doesn't make any sense. Your feelings for her have penetrated you far too deeply, and now your love has become a core part of your personality. Perhaps she's right about you, perhaps you really do love her as more than a sister. Afraid that your feelings were unnatural, you tried to mask them with a veneer of respectability. Two women sharing a bed may be wrong, but two sisters? Why, there can be nothing purer than that. That's not true. You told yourself your feelings were of a familial nature, so you don't need to probe them too much, and yet...
Good. I'm glad. I knew I could always trust you until the end.
Your sister says with a small smile.
You always have understood me better than anybody else. That is why I love you so much. My beloved Caroline.
It is with this remark, sweeter than anything she has ever before uttered, that your sister dips her head. Her lips found yours, soft and sweet. As in the same moment, she thrusts her right hand, the one with which grips her scalpel still. You gasp, and she penetrates your parted lips with her tongue. Oh! Just as she penetrates your flank with her... Oh, okay. Got it. I thought she went with the scalpel there. Okay, just as she penetrates your flank with the sharpened blade of her scalpel. Oh yeah. Gee. You feel her invading you on both fronts. The blade, sharp and inorganic, her tongue, soft and fleshy. If you wish, you could bite down upon her tongue. You should do that. You could sink your teeth into it, could sever it perhaps at the tip and make her draw back. Her mouth would fill with blood and perhaps her eyes would fill with tears. She would curse you, or would she? Perhaps she would simply sob. I mean... if you meant to properly bite into it, you could do some proper damage. You have only seen her cry once before, shortly after her mother's death, but she has not sobbed since. She had no need for tears, for she knew you would always wipe them away. You thought that you needed her, but perhaps she needed you too. You were a pillar of support upon which she leaned, a constant she clung to. You both needed one another. Not really. So perhaps it is no wonder that in the end both of you would go toppling. Your foundations were not secure enough, and yet... the scalpel in your side hurts, but you cannot bring yourself to hate her. Why not? Even now you love her. You do not want to push her away. I mean... the fact that you don't want is weird. You can't fall, because you are, like, literally stuck to that table. In fact, you almost welcome the invasive metal in your side. Ugh. It is proof, if nothing else, that she needs you, that she wants you. She does not want you. You will submit then to this act of violation, for your love is so deep it transforms it. Not into something invasive, but into something intimate. You will let your sister have her way with you, as you always have. You will let her take you apart, just as she did your father's old carriage clock. For you doubt she, even her infinite genius, will be able to put you back together again. Yeah, you are unsure as she digs her knife into you, whether you want her to. Her kiss might be salve, but it can only offer you so much relief. Your fingers have started to feel horribly, unnaturally cold. It's game over. Your heartbeat meanwhile begins to slow. You succumb bit by bit to your own inevitable end. to the inevitability of the scalpel sliding deep and quick into your flesh, tearing it away from your bones. You let yourself drift, secure to the rust red operating table as the scholar. Your beloved sister looms over you, a look of concentration in her face so immense you feel almost flattered. She cares so much. You wish, as you lie there, she had looked at you like this before, that she had seen fit to offer you even a crumb of attention like this in the past. But no, you think, as you succumb to the blade of your sister's scalpel, this is not the past you wish to recall. This is not the past you wish to reclaim. Do you not see any other paths available to you as you drifted? Any other lives which might be more satisfactory? Why don't you reach out and see? Quickly, now, while you still can! Why don't you see who else you might have been? And what else you might become? Alright. Fuck, that was crazy. That was wilder than the first one. And the last one? At this point I don't know what to expect. But yeah, it is as I kind of mentioned. When you are saying yes for everything someone asks, that person eventually is like, alright, I don't need to ask, I will just get it. And there you have it. There you have it, man. It's crazy. To go after, like, someone important to you. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. What a story for so far. Absolutely crazy, and it all makes it good. It all makes it good. But yeah, let's end it for today. Tomorrow we'll have a look at the last one, the red-eyed girl over here, and see what she's cooking. As I mentioned before, which I believe I did, link to the game description as always. Each free, each free. It's on itch.io and it's free basically. You can also get other ebi-hime games, of course, if you go there. And well, for now, if you enjoyed, consider liking the video. If you're new around, consider subscribing, always super appreciated. And we'll continue playing games. And as I said, tomorrow we'll go to the last story to see what's happening over there. I wish you a fantastic day. Bye bye.